Welcome to Faith and Science Field Notes Radio, where each episode combines one middle school science topic with scripture and personal reflection, because studying how the world works is one way of getting to know the God who made it. This is the brief on matter. And since this is our very first episode, let me just take a minute before we dive in to tell you what this whole show is all about. Every Sunday morning around 9 o'clock, a new episode drops right here, paired with a new science term and tied to whatever the middle schoolers are learning that week in class. The school curriculum is what sets the pace, but honestly, that's really just the scaffolding. What we're doing here is meant for anybody at any age and any stage of their faith. Maybe you're in sixth grade and this is helping you study for a quiz. Maybe you're a parent half listening in the car, or maybe you're a grandparent, a teacher, a neighbor down the street who just happened to find this. However you got here, there's no test waiting for you at the end. Well, unless you're one of my middle school students. But it's just an invitation to notice something true about how the world works and let that observation point you somewhere bigger. So, for our very first term, it only makes sense to start where the Bible itself starts, at the very beginning. Today's term is matter. In the simplest terms, matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. That's a bigger category than people usually assume. Obviously, a rock is matter. Your own body is matter, but so is water. So is the air you're breathing right now. Even though you can't see it and don't feel much weight to it, if it takes up space and it has mass, it counts as matter. Here's where people usually trip up. We assume that if something feels invisible or weightless, it must not really be stuff. But that's not true. Air has mass. It's just spread out enough that we don't notice it pressing on us all the time. The same goes for a lot of things we walk right past without a second thought. Now, here's where this gets big. Lean in. Genesis chapter 1 doesn't describe God shaping matter that was already lying around somewhere. It describes God speaking matter into existence out of nothing. Let there be light, and there was light. The raw physical stuff of the universe, the stuff this whole show is going to spend an entire year exploring, one term at a time, didn't have to exist. It exists because God chose deliberately to bring it into being. That means everything we're going to talk about this year, energy, force, cells, gravity, the whole created order, all of it traces back to one moment of intention, not an accident, not something that just happened to be sitting there, a choice. So here's something to sit with this week. What's one ordinary object around you right now? Your phone, the chair you're sitting in, the air in the room, that you could pause and actually see as part of God's creation instead of just background noise you take for granted. Thank you for listening to this episode of Faith and Science Field Notes Radio. Remember, studying how the world works is one way of getting to know the God who made it.